Hello out there to everyone viewing this video. My name is Brother Dana Stevens, and I'm coming to you and going to say some of the same words that I used in a video I created a little over a year ago, that by the time this video is over with, many of my white family and church family once again will reject me and dislike me. But I need to put this out there and put this out there right now. The white Jews that you and I have honored and been taught all these years are God's chosen people is an absolute lie. They are imposters. They are fake. They are descendants of the Romans that rose up into power in between the New Testament and the Old Testament that we as Christians believe was the Dark Ages. But God was speaking. But as they rose to power, they did exactly what Deuteronomy chapter 28 said would be done out of the very mouth of our God, when he said that my people will be taken from a land and stripped of their name, their identity, their culture, and everything about them, and brought to a land where they will be enslaved, and where they will be beat, and where they will fear the terror of their master day and night. And one of those verses in Deuteronomy chapter 28 says that even that nation will hover over them like that of an eagle. And so with that basis of that understanding, I am telling to you, my white brothers and sisters, that we have been duped all these years. We have been duped to believe that our black family members are low-life monsters created to be slaves and nothing more than that. But the truth is the absolute opposite. They are the chosen of God. They are the chosen of Yah. And God, even the God that we say we call upon in Christianity, is coming back to redeem his people. And it makes it very clear that the nation that held his people in slavery are going to fall, much like Pharaoh fell when he refused to let God's chosen people go. And I know you're going to doubt me and say, prove it. But my question is this: how much proof do you and I have on the things that you and I believe that we've been taught? I've never done research. So read The International Jew, which was written by Henry Ford, who built so-called Your and My car. That back in the 1920s and 30s, he spent millions of dollars, 2 or 3, to do research and found out that the Jews that we serve today are fake Jews, and the relationship between our government and those Jews is based off of wealth, not that they're God's chosen people. That is the facade for us to tie with the enemy, while the real chosen people that we have enslaved are stripped of their identity and who they are. And so, white America, I want you to know that that which took place in Egypt under the reign of Pharaoh, when he refused to let his people go, is exactly what's going to happen to America when we in the white church refuse to acknowledge and let Yah's people go. And it doesn't matter if you believe this right now and right here, but time is coming, just like it did for the Egyptians who laughed. And so we have a lot of forgiveness to do in the white church. And this is why I know we do, because there's no way we love and honor our black brothers and sisters in this country outside of the knowledge that they are God's chosen people as equal as we do the Jews. And I even was kicked out of a church, and I was literally kicked out of a church of a black pastor, because he said that I'm preaching a black Jesus, and that I am bringing in separation, and that I should not focus. Even as us as whites now are going to say we shouldn't focus. It doesn't matter. Under Jesus, we're all one. But then my question is this: why have you given so much honor and so much devotion and purpose in this country to defend and to protect the Jews? Our attitude is not the same. You actually hated on President Obama because you thought that he was not going to love on God's chosen people, the Jews that are living in Israel. And as a nation, if we want to be blessed, we must be a blessing and a protection of God's chosen people. And all of my white evangelical teachers and pastors and preachers teach that. So now why does that change? Because we found out that we are protecting the wrong people, and actually the people that we need to be protecting and acknowledging are the very people we have enslaved. Skin color. It's skin color. Even in my black church, it's skin color, that you've been taught by my white people that to believe that Jesus or Yeshua, yeah, my white people are going to say, come on, he was not black. Well, he sure was not blonde hair, blue-eyed the way that we portray him. He was far from that. So now why are we picking out details when we have lived with a complete opposite of a detail in the way that we portray Jesus Christ? Well, Henry Ford was the one that revealed that the Jews were actually fake. And the government told him that he would not be allowed to publish that book. And if he did, they would destroy his business. And then you get Hitler, that we have been taught is a bad man because of what he did to the Jews. Well, yes, that is true. But guess what? Hitler himself knew that the Jews were fake and that the blacks, the Africans that we enslaved in this country were actually the real chosen people of God. So America has distanced ourselves from learning anything about Hitler except for he was a bad man. But there is some truth in that bad man that we as a bad country, white country, are failing to acknowledge. And so we're going to have to love Yah's real chosen people as much as we love the white Jews. We've acknowledged to these white Jews. See, and this Holocaust is a foreshadow of what we need to do with our hearts when we find out and are made to understand the truth. That we must acknowledge that this black Holocaust has happened and is still happening. Just like the Germans and the Americans around the globe acknowledged that the white Jews were enslaved by Hitler and treated unfairly and murdered and were trying to be wiped out. Well, we are doing that very thing to our black brothers and sisters in this country from the moment we enslaved them. So we must acknowledge and then must repent and return back to them that which we have stolen. Isn't that what we've mandated them to do for the white Jews? Is to give them back what a nation stole from them, and we fight for them to be protected as a group of people from any intruder or nation. Well, we're going to have to protect our black brothers and sisters with that same mindset of attitude. And we must love them the way that we love the white Jews. And so, beyond what we can do with our mouths, or what we refrain our mouths from saying the N-word or so-called racist words, the God that we serve in white Christianity also says that he sees the content of the heart and what lies inside there more than he does about what the words are revealed. For the mouth and the attitude is all controlled by our heart in our relationship with Jesus. And I know that journey has been where the Lord has had me on 23 years ago when I was beat up by 5 young black men. And after they beat me up, they said, "Welcome to racism." But I thank God at that time that he had helped me to feel that pain and then put me on a journey for 23 years to understand the depth of pain that we have bestowed upon his people. That we are bestowing upon our black brothers and sisters. And that has led me on this journey. And I knew I had some hatred towards the white Jews at that time, as I perceived them as God's chosen people. And I had some of those living around them, individuals, the Jewish people living around me. And I remember one time I was driving down the road and there was a Jewish family coming out of the temple, synagogue, that Saturday night. And I had the choice in my spirit, and I heard the voice of God say, "Are you going to let them go, or are you going to make them wait?" And I decided at that moment to let them go, because I knew what was in my heart towards them, jealousy, even as a Gentile looking at them as a Jew. And the moment that I let them go, the Lord released that jealousy and that hatred that I had towards my white Jewish family. And now in that journey, he's revealed to me, God, that my black brothers and sisters, have ancestry in slavery, that were brought over here by our ancestors and have been enslaved now for 400 years. See, whether you enslaved them or not. In those years with Pharaoh, I can't believe that everybody that died in the judgment literally had a slave. But the mindset of the Egyptians were the Hebrews, whether they enslaved them personally or not, were less than. And that's exactly what we look upon our black brothers and sisters, whether you want to acknowledge you've enslaved them or not, or had anything to do with them. We still look at them as less than us. And just think, those of us that belong to Jesus would never have that type of attitude for a Jewish person, even a poor Jewish family, that we would definitely understand the possibility and the reason that that family is in the shape they're in because of what was so wrongfully done to their ancestors. And yet we refuse to acknowledge the same truth that we have bestowed upon our black family and still do to this day. But I'm saying to you, my white brothers and sisters, whether you're listening to this now or in the several years to come, until we repent, and until we acknowledge and until we love our black brothers and sisters in this country the same way we have loved the white Jews who are actually not the real Jews, we will, you will, I'm not, going to understand the judgment of a righteous God. And why am I not? Because I've acknowledged that my black brothers and sisters are chosen. Because, see, I asked God one night after being in the inner city all these years to say, God, us white people, we have some tolerance for some minorities and stuff, but we don't have any for our black brothers and sisters. We actually hate them above any other group, and why is that? And after all these years, he spoke to me and said, because they're my chosen. Whether or not you believe that I hear the voice of God is not, you take your chance, I'm not taking mine. So until we in the white church in this country repent, acknowledge, and love and restore our black brothers and sisters, Yah's, God's chosen people, when the judgments hit this country just like they did to Egypt, we will not be able to save ourselves this time. OneLoveSociety.love. If you're one of my white brothers and sisters, and there's several of you out there, you know we've come together that know this truth, please contact me, because we need to build a team to go back to our own family members, white family members, to begin to speak the truth, because there is going to be so much hardship coming upon my white brothers and sisters in these years to come, to get them to acknowledge and let God's people go, which those of you that know what I'm talking about, this resonates with you with joy, because you know who they are and not anger or fear or jealousy. And if you're listening to this and you're one of my white brothers or sisters, and this is not residing in your spirit, then I'm telling you, you need to open your spirit and really ask the God that you serve the truth. Because those of us that have, this brings joy to us to understand that we are privileged enough to be in communication and to be in fellowship with the chosen people of God. Because then at that point, there's no longer Greek or Jew. We're all one, loved by God, loved by Yeshua, loved by Jesus. But I'll never fail to acknowledge that they're His, God, the Most High's chosen. Join the One Love Society movement. And let's get this truth out to both sides, but especially to my white brothers and sisters before the depth of judgment hits this country. Like I said, I'm Dana, Brother Dana Stevens, and wrapping this up. And I know there's probably several again of my white family that I have now created to be enemies. But I'm going to speak the truth because that truth has set me free. And I know it's going to set some of my white family members free. So, God bless.